We've got a quick Oregon Coast real estate market update for you today. We're going to cover most of the Oregon Coast. Like I said, going to be a quick video. Things are very interesting right now. You've probably heard me say it before if you've watched these videos. The market's pretty weird. It's getting even weirder. Stick around in this video to find out why. Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel, Living on the Oregon Coast. I'm your host, Seth Marchant, licensed broker in the state of Oregon. We're going to start with the North Coast first. And the numbers we always like to start by looking at is inventory in months. That's why we like to start here at the very top. So if you're not sure what that is, what this number means is right now, as of last month, September, 4.1 inventory in months. That means that if nothing else changed, no new listings came to the market, it would take 4.1 months for all of the current homes to sell. Now, this isn't the only metric, but it's probably a big metric in determining if it is a buyer's or a seller's market. And a lot of people like to say that 3 to 6 months on average is kind of where you kind of get into the territory of being a buyer's market, meaning that the buyers kind of have the advantage. The buyers have the advantage in the negotiation. You're able to get more out of the seller. You're able to get the seller to concede more things, price reductions, helping you with closing costs, buying down rate, things like that. So we've definitely been in that territory for a while now, but one thing that is a little bit strange and you're not always necessarily going to see, we saw it last year, and I'll get to a reason why here in just a moment, but inventory ticking up around this time of the year for most of the country, and the Oregon Coast not necessarily being an exception. Oregon Coast is going to be unique from a lot of other places, especially in Oregon, but for the most part, inventory tends to go down in the wintertime. People don't like to sell around the holidays. They'll withdraw if their home is still on the market sometime in November, coming into December, and then they'll bring that home back to the market in the new year, whether it's January, February, maybe they wait till the springtime. So inventory usually ticking down around this time of the year. Right now, currently ticking up, and the big reason why, you might have guessed it, interest rates. If we go back to about the same time last year, you can see inventory ticking up at about the same time last year, and last year was the first time that we got right around into the sixes for interest rates. And we only have to go back to the beginning of the year last year to actually where we were in the threes. It feels like forever ago, but it was only at the beginning of last year that we were actually into the threes, March 14th, according to Fannie Mae. And it was October 14th, mid-October, that we got into the sixes. Now, it's not so much the rate as it is rate shock, meaning it takes people time to adjust to these new prices, to new rates, to adjust their budget, what they're willing to spend or what they're going to get for their dollar. So it's not always so much actually the interest rate, but it's the rate shock. It's when that rate goes up or goes up drastically that the market really slows down. And you saw that last winter with inventory building up past October and through the winter, and then started to slow down as we got to the end of the winter into springtime. But now it's ticked back up again, and that is because rates now are getting into the mid sevens. So a lot of people have been factoring in kind of six-ish rates over the past 3, 6, 9 months or so. People that are shopping online now having to contend with rates in the sevens. Could even go up to the eights. So that has really dramatically slowed the housing market. New listings increased from this time to last time in September of last year, but decreased 25% from this month to the previous month, September rather, to August before that. So new listings are also down. New listings are down in a lot of places throughout the country. Pending sales are down. Closed sales are down. And that's leading to a slower market. Time on market is typically up in a lot of places. In the North Coast, time on market increased 74 days. So these are all indicators that it's really a seller's market. Sales down, rates up, time on market is up. A lot of sellers out there, if they're not getting action in the first week to 2 weeks, that's when they really kind of start to get antsy. And from a buyer's perspective, before this past year, when we were in this red hot, crazy market, buyers that are shopping online, Zillow, Realtor.com, Redfin, they're noticing that a lot of homes that they follow tend to go pending in 3, 4, 5, 6 days. So a lot of times buyers will come to us if they see a home in the market that's been on the market for maybe a week or 2 weeks. Then the natural inclination is to think that something's wrong with that home. People always say, oh, this home's been on the market for 2 weeks. What's wrong with it? And when a home gets to that point, then a buyer, because they just naturally assume something's wrong with it because it hasn't sold already, what they're conditioned to seeing for the past couple of years, then they're automatically going to assume that if they do want to pursue that house, that they're going to get a discount on it. And sellers know that as well too. So for a lot of sellers out there right now, they can definitely be feeling the pinch with these numbers and the market being the way that it is. One thing that kind of makes it tricky, there are still homes out there that are going under contract. And if you're shopping online, you probably see this yourself. Going under contract, meaning pending within 2, 3, 4, 5 days, just like when the market was really hot a year ago and beyond. And so it can be a case-by-case basis. We are still seeing some homes go above asking and having multiple offers. Those are, for the most part, though, I would say pretty few and far between. A lot of the buyers that we're working with are tending to land somewhere between 1 and 5% under list price. That is, if the home is listed correctly. Could be a lot more if the home is listed high. So with the current kind of sentiment and all the market conditions, we could very well see this inventory continue to climb. The higher it climbs, of course, the worse it's going to be for sellers and the better it's going to be for buyers. So to recap for the Northern Oregon coast, from September of this year compared to the previous month of August, new listings down 25%, pending sales down 25%, closed sales down 12%, average sale price just 0.1%, median sale price negative 2.4%, inventory slightly up 0.5%, and total time on market plus 12 days. And again, that's with a total time on market of 74 days. So the average home sits on the market for 74 days on the Northern Oregon coast. And again, you can imagine most sellers these previous years seeing homes sell so quickly, that feels like a long time for sellers. So that really gives buyers a big advantage going into these negotiations. Go look at Lincoln County. Lincoln County is on a different MLS, so the data that we have to look at it, how we look at it, is going to be slightly different. What's in Lincoln County? Lincoln City up north, Depot Bay, Newport, Waldport, and Yachats, a couple other smaller towns in between, but those are the larger towns that you're probably going to recognize. So where are they at with inventory? Just over 6 months, and they've been that way for most of the year. Almost up to 7 months of inventory in some places. So even more so in Lincoln County than on the Northern Oregon coast. Let's take a look at sold versus the average list price, which is going to tell us a lot. So the average list price is going to be this darker color right here, $634,000. What is the average sale price? $607,000. So like I mentioned, people are landing a couple percent, 2-3% on average below what the list price is. And like I said, we've found that to be true for all of the buyers that we've worked with as well. Now let's move down to Coos County. This is where Coos Bay is. Then we'll hit Curry County, where Brookings and Gold Beach is, and I'll save Florence for last. Kind of a unique situation with Florence. So Coos County. One thing that draws a lot of people to Coos County is your average price is going to be lower in this area for the most part than pretty much anywhere else along the Oregon coast. A lot of people coming here looking for affordability. A lot of people coming from California because it's too expensive. So Coos County coming in at 3.8 months of inventory as of September. You can see they followed a very similar trend last year where inventory picked up through the winter. Again, where people kind of had that rate shock of going from high 3s at the beginning of the year and then touching into the 6s. And then the inventory built up throughout the winter. And springtime, rates tended to fluctuate a little bit. We had a little bit of rate relief earlier in the year, but we can see we would expect with rates being in the mid-7s now, the inventory is going to build up throughout the winter months in Coos County. New listings increased from 22%, 97 listed in September 2022, so increased from the following year, but decreased this month from the previous month from September to August. Pending sales actually ticked up just 2.1% from the previous year, but decreased from the previous month. Closed sales decreased from the previous year, decreased from the previous month. And of course, inventory increased to 3.8 months. Their total time inventory days on market is going to be 66 days. Went up 9 days over this past month. I don't think I touched on it actually from the North Coast, but median average and median sales price Compared to 2022 of September, the average sales price decreased 2.8%. And again, I want to point out some of these numbers too, because I'm going to show you something here at the end of this video that's a little bit surprising to me. So decreased 2.8%, but the same comparison, the median sale price decreased 1.6% from 500,000 to 492,000. Those are the prices you're going to see largely throughout the Oregon coast, kind of in the fives or so. Not going to find too many areas that are in the threes, with the exception, like I mentioned, of Coos County. So Coos County, comparing 2023 to 2022 through September, average sale price decreased 7.5%, and for the median sale price decreased 5.9%. And the median sales price decreased 5.9%, and that's $350 to $329,000. Next, we're going to go to Curry County. Again, this is where Brookings is, Gold Beach, all the way just north of Port Orford. Now, they've had high inventory. If you watch any of our previous videos, of course, pointed this out. This is about as high of inventory as you'll see in Oregon, and probably throughout the country. Frankly, very high inventory earlier in the year, 8.4 months of inventory. But again, ticking up, like we're kind of seeing throughout other places, ticking up. So we might expect October, November, this December for inventory to continue to pick up. New listings increased 2% from September of last year, but decreased 19% from September of this year to the previous month of August. Pending sales decreased 29% from the following year, decreased 26% from the following month. Closed sales decreased 24% from the following year, decreased 19% from closings in August. Inventory increased to 5.5 months in September, with the total market time of 98 days. Almost 100 days is their average time on market. That went up just 3 days recently. The average sale price increased 11% from $435 to $484, and the median sale price decreased 4.1 from $415,000 to $397,000. So a lot of similar numbers across the board. Like I said, for the most part, it's probably going to feel in a lot of cases like a buyer's market, and buyers are going to have a lot of leverage. This is one thing that's been surprising me a lot. This is from Zillow. Might sound kind of funny having a realtor reference Zillow, but why do I reference Zillow? Because a lot of people like to look at Zillow. Zillow's got a lot of good data, and usually they're pretty accurate with their data. So this is their estimate. I'm going to go through a couple different places on the coast, but the first one is Lincoln City. They estimate that home values will go up 6.2% over the next year. Very surprising to see a number like that in the market that we're in, especially with interest rates where they're at, and what the Fed has signaled is those rates are not going to go down anytime soon. They could possibly even go up again. We could even see the eights, but for sure we're not going to see any low rates anytime in the near future. So with inventory being high, rates being low, sales being down, those are all bearish signs for the market, at least for sellers. That means there's just not a really super strong buyer's sentiment. There's not a lot of competition out there for buyers, or there's not enough competition for buyers out there to give us really low inventory. So in a market like that, it would be hard typically to predict and forecast home values to go up very much. That's why it's surprising to see this. But why do I put kind of any weight into this? Like I said, Zillow has a lot of great data, but and how do these things work? Like when you look at Zillow or Redfin, they have an estimate for your home. If you sign up with them, you can register your home, and they'll send you updates on your home periodically. They might even offer to buy your home. So how does Zillow come up with their estimates? Well, they do a very similar thing to what us realtors do. They do something called comps. They look at comparable sales. They take a home in question, and then they find the most similar homes, and they average those numbers out. And usually the number that they come up with is going to be pretty spot on. Reason why it's not always spot on, of course, is because it's just simply an algorithm that does this. And the algorithm's not going to be privy to every little single piece of information. They're not going to know if the house in question, for example, recently did a kitchen remodel or did an add-on or something like that. So Zillow isn't always going to have all the data to give you the most accurate valuation of your home. That's why you want to contact us. Again, my name is Seth Marchant, licensed broker in the state of Oregon. I invite you to contact me anytime if you have questions about moving. But for the most part, it is fairly accurate. So that's why I put a little bit of weight into following these things. And for the most part, the Oregon coast, I've seen a lot of similar numbers. And this is all recent stuff. This is all from the past month that they've sent to me. So this was Lincoln City. We've got Bandon forecasted at up 5.7% next year. Wanted to, I didn't pick any specific areas. I just went through my email and just checked to see what I had recently. But I chose this one too because most people are probably not going to be familiar with this area. Lakeside, little tiny community just north of the Coos Bay, North Bend area. Most people probably not have heard of that. And for the most part, a lot of the smaller communities, the smaller towns along the Oregon coast, don't tend to do as well as some of the bigger or the more popular areas. So a little bit surprised to see a 5% increase over the next year forecasted for like a little place called Lakeside. This is South Beach, just south of Newport, forecasted to go up 6.1% over the next year. This is Florence, and I'll mention Florence as far as their market here in just a moment. Forecasted to go up 4.2% over the next year. Yachats forecasted to go up 6% next year. This is the smallest one I could find. This is actually Brookings, and maybe not a surprise, right? But this is supposed to align a little bit more with inventory, having higher inventory, having inventory that's that high, and really kind of being more of a buyer's market, and it taking a long time for sellers to have to move homes. You wouldn't expect homes to go up 2.6% over the next year. Again, this is all the greater context is homes went up 20% in 2020, 2021, and 2022, leading to this affordability issue, making it so unaffordable for so many people. And obviously, homes can't sustain that type of growth, going up 20% year over year every single year. What does that mean? What does the math look like? Well, 20% of, say, a $500,000 house is $100,000. So in 2020, if you own a $500,000 house, it was worth $600,000 the next year. And then $720 the year after that. So obviously things can't sustain at that pace. But even so, any sort of increases at this point is actually a little bit surprising. And if you've been watching my videos, I've been saying this for the last few years. I've been kind of predicting for the most part. I haven't been calling a crash, but I have been predicting that homes will go up maybe 1 to 2%. For the most part, I haven't predicted that homes were going to go down in value. I'm not one of those crash people. I haven't seen any indicators that we are going to see a buyer's or a market crash. But this is despite that, and despite my perspective, these numbers are still sort of surprising to me. Back up north, Seaside predicted to go up 6.5% over the next year. Florence is a little bit trickier, the reason being they are in Lane County. Here's a little graphic, if you can, it's kind of small, but Eugene, Oregon is going to be the major town for Lane County, and they sit right about where I'm pointing in my mouse. With my mouse here, about 45 minutes west of Florence, which is going to be right on the coast, of course. About 175,000 people in Eugene, about 10,000 people in the city of Florence, maybe a few other people in surrounding towns in this area. So this data right here really is not going to be so indicative of Florence so much as these other counties are going to be, which are most of the population is in coastal towns in those other counties. So kind of tough to get data for Florence with how the MLS is broken down. I do have different ways that I can possibly break it down. If you want to have a special report on Florence, I can do that for you. You're going to see, if we could cut out Eugene here, though, you're going to see a lot of the same of what we saw from these other coastal reports. High inventory, not a whole lot of new listings, sales are down, and it's probably about as good of time for a buyer as any, especially if you have cash. Obviously, if you have cash, you are uninhibited by these rate increases, which a lot of people that are buying homes along the Oregon coast do. A lot of people are retiring along the Oregon coast, a lot of people coming from California that have enough equity in their home to sell their home in California and take those proceeds to actually use all cash for a home along the Oregon coast. So I hope that's kind of snapshot helped you get an idea of how things are going right now and what to expect. Like I said, we're going to expect inventory to go up throughout the winter time, kind of like we saw through last winter time. So now is a great time for buyers to buy. We're worried about rates, and if you're not aware of these things, there are ways to buy down the rate to get your rate lower so your mortgage payment is lower. A lot of sellers are buying down rates for buyers right now. So there's a lot of possibilities out there. If you do have questions about moving to the Oregon coast, anything at all, I invite you to call, text, email. You can hit the QR code that you see if you're watching this from TV. That'll take you to our website where you can find all of our contact information. And in the description of this video on YouTube, there is a link to hop into our calendar and schedule a Zoom call with us if you'd like to meet us that way. Typically best for people coming from out of state, which I know so many of you are. And if this video helped you, give me a thumbs up. Lets me know I'm doing a good job. Feel free to leave a comment. And if you want to see more videos specifically about what it's like to eat, sleep, play, to live along the Oregon coast, a lot of our videos are vlog tours, driving tours, drone tours. Videos are really designed to give you a feel for the Oregon coast, and then about periodically, like once a quarter or so, we'll talk about the housing market. But if you want to see more videos about what it's like to live along the Oregon coast, make sure and subscribe to our channel. Until next time, take care, everyone.